Okay, it's 5:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to start by acknowledging that this meeting is respectfully held on the traditional territory of the Sycas First Nation, on whose land we live, work, and play. We have an agenda circulated. We have 2 items I would like to add to requests for decisions that are on your desk. So that will be 6.5 and 6.6. Would somebody like to move adoption of the agenda as amended? All in favor? Carried. We have the minutes from the May 21st special meeting. Do you have a mover for adoption? Seconder? All in favor? Carried. No bylaws, so we'll go straight to delegations. We have Pam Walkerton from the Canadian Association of Radon Scientists and Technologists. Take it away, Pam.
Thanks so much. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and then I'll just share my screen. So let me know if you can see that.
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks so much. Thank you very much for allowing me to present. I am here on behalf of Take Action on Radon. I'm calling from Winnipeg, so a little ways away, but I'm pleased to be able to present this information. Take Action on Radon is a national initiative that is funded by Health Canada to raise awareness on radon and to do that in a way to work with various groups such as yourselves to do that. And the 100 Radon Test Kit Challenge is one of our initiatives, and it allows us not only to raise awareness on radon in communities, but also to get test kits in the hands easier. It's a turnkey program, so we provide all the tools and resources for each step of the process. It's no cost to the community, but it does require staff time to organize and distribute and collect the test kits. And so we are really thankful for the team that helped us with distributing, because we do know that it takes time and effort to help us with communicating and distributing the test kits. And it was really well, the project went really well. And so I'll present the results of that project. Before I do, I just want to give you a little bit of background of the 100 Test Kit Challenge. So we've been able to run this program in over 120 communities over the last 6 years in 10 provinces, 5 First Nations, and 2 Métis groups. We've been able to distribute over 20,000 detectors with an average return rate of about 74%. And so we've been able to distribute more than 14,000 test kits. And so the dots on the map there represent communities across the country. And so you can see that we've been able to do them coast to coast. And after the first 3 years, we did a survey of our participants, and we found that about 30% of the people that participated and tested above 200 mitigated their homes already. And really, we'd love to get this number up. So we've been working to provide more information to residents and or participants to be able to help them make decisions to mitigate their home and reduce their radon levels after they receive their test results. So here's a list of the communities that we have run the project in this year. So you can see that there was a number of other BC communities as well as other communities from across the country. Now, radon is linked to lung cancer. It's the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and it greatly increases the risk of cancer in people who have a smoking history. And in fact, Health Canada estimates that over 3,000 Canadians per year die of radon-related lung cancer. Now, radon comes from the soil. It's a radioactive gas. Originally, it starts as uranium, which is a solid, and then it decays into radium and eventually into radon, which is a gas. So it enters buildings that have contact with the soil. So it could be in any building. We talk about testing in the first floor or the ground contact floor or the basement, but really it can move throughout the buildings, especially homes where our air is being nicely circulated. So it can be found anywhere in our homes. Health Canada recommends that all buildings be tested using a 3-month test during the heating season, and that any house that has levels above 200 be reduced to as low as possible. Now, this part of the project, all the participants should have received their radon test report, and we are following up with anybody who hasn't received it. Usually they've been emailed out, although I think there's been a few people that we've mailed them. If they haven't had email addresses, then we just pop them in the mail. And so anybody who hasn't received their individual report can certainly contact us. We want to make sure that they get their report. We've been able to distribute 100 test kits in the community. We saw 83 people start the test, and then about 71 completed the end survey online, and then we were able to issue 72 reports after connecting with one by phone. So our return rate is about 72%, which has been a really good rate. And then also we were really pleased with the number of detectors that we were able to distribute in the community. And so I'll go through the data now from those 72 reports. So of the 72 reports that were reported, almost 28% of the radon levels were in this green zone, which is below 100. 43% were in the yellow, between 100 and 200. And then 29% were between 2 and 600. And there weren't any levels that we found above 600. And so at the red level, those are the above 200, which is above Health Canada's guideline. And so on top of doing the radon test, we also asked participants to complete an optional survey. And so we did have a number of people who did complete it and provided us some information about their home. So most of the participants were in single detached homes. There was one mobile home and then one semi-detached home. We do sometimes see tests in mobile homes high, but you can see this one was low. So, anybody can certainly test their homes, but the fact that majority of the homes were single detached, which is what we typically see in a project like this. We also ask about owners and renters. So the majority of the participants also own their own home. There were a couple renters, but they tested below 200. We, ask this question and specifically call it out because anybody who is a renter and tests above 200 does need some additional support, often with communicating with their landlord, because they really will be dependent on them to do the mitigation. Another question we ask is if anyone had previously tested for radon. So we saw that a few people had, but most participants had not tested. So we were able to help them with that for the first time. We also ask about things such as building code, whether they've got a radon control measure or maybe a previous radon mitigation system installed. And so you can see we did have one participant that did actually have an active system installed, but most people didn't have anything or weren't sure what they had. Now, we also ask about the age of construction. And so on the top line, you can see that there was a number of participants that either didn't know the age of their home or just didn't provide it. But we did have participants from a good number of decades of age of home. And you can see that across the years, really, there are homes that both have levels below the 200 and above the 200, which this is fairly typical to what we see in our projects across the country, that there really is no age of home that we're using to predict it. So sometimes people think maybe it's in older homes, maybe it's in newer homes, but really we're seeing it in all ages of homes across the country. So really every home should be tested for radon. Now, all this data is to present to you just sort of some additional information about the survey questions, but we will be producing a report and publishing it online about the participants. And this is what the report will look like, or looks like. It walks through the number of homes that were tested, and then you can see in red the number of homes that were tested above 200. So and then yellow are the homes between 100 and 2, and then green below 200. So below 100, the same colors we talked about in the pie chart before. On page 1 is the community specific report. And then on the second page is some general information. So anybody that picks up this report that maybe wasn't part of the project has some basic information about where to purchase a test, information about radon mitigation, and then also where to find a certified professional. Also some information about the building code and the fact that every new home should still be tested, even if it is included in the radon control measures as part of the building code. It still does need to be tested for radon. We also provided you some information just to understand that there are other communities in the province that do have a number of homes that are above guidelines. So you're not alone with the number of percentage of homes above that 200 level. These are the surveys that we have done over the last 6 years from the province of BC. And then we also do have a national certification program in Canada. So CNRPP is our national certification program, and people can go online and find a list of certified mitigation professionals to help them with reducing their levels. They can search by province or by postal code. So as well for you, if you're trying to, answer questions or help direct people, you can direct them to a public listing. There also is a mitigation grant so for somebody who may not have funds to cover the cost of radon mitigation, they can apply for a grant through the Canadian Lung Association. They will need a copy of their long-term test report, such as the one they received from this project, as well as a quote from a CNRPP mitigation professional. And so they need to apply before they get the work done. And then they also need to qualify. So they can qualify either if someone in the house, an occupant, has lung cancer diagnosis, or if they're in the low to moderate income bracket, according to Stats Canada medium income. So they would need to provide confirmation of their income. And so that grant is available. We have also looked into whether with CRA, whether or not they can claim costs of radon mitigation and measurement on their tax. And CRA came back and said that they can claim the cost of radon measurement if they use work from home expenses or have a business in home. They can use that under the maintenance expenses, but the cost of mitigation is not covered or cannot be claimed. And then Health Canada has developed some radon action guides for municipalities. So we provided some information in the slides about these, including a bit of a checklist, but they are quite thorough guides that you can go through, and we provided the link on the slide. But they give some information to municipalities on things that they can do, such as providing information on their website, testing municipal buildings, and that sort of thing. So we've included some of that information here. And thanks very much for the opportunity to present.
Thank you. That was great. Any questions? Councillor Bulmer.
Actually, I only had one, and I think you answered it, and that's that when you build new homes and you have a radon plan going in with the code, you still have to have it tested. Right now, there's no way of building a house to stop radon from entering. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So our recommendation is still to test, even if a home has. So the most recent building code in BC is includes a full pipe that actually extends to the outside of the building. So theoretically, this would actually provide a full pathway for the gas to go from below the house, the slab space, to the exterior. But the fan is not required as part of the building code. So a homeowner should still test to determine whether a fan should be added. And even if they were to include the fan right from the point of construction, all mitigation systems, even in retrofits, should be tested to ensure that they were effective. So every home should be tested. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Have you or will you end up with a database that'll show you what types of terrain, or is that possible to discover where you should build, where you shouldn't build? Is there, like I notice on the towns, all the ones on the island don't seem to have any radon. Is that typical?
Yes. Well, so far we have only done a couple communities on the island, and they have been low levels. But yeah, that was one of the questions that we thought we would answer as we went into this project. And so one of the things that we do is we map the data for ourselves, even within the community. So we did that with your community data, just to go, okay, are there any problem spots? Is there anything that we're seeing, any trends? And we typically don't. It's been like 2 communities where we've actually sort of seen some type of trend. So most of the time we see what we've saw in your community, that the higher levels are sort of distributed, throughout it. You might have even the same street. Well, there'll be a low level and a moderate and a high. So you really can't tell what your house is based on your neighbor. Each home does need to be tested. And so we just double check that, because we do often get questions from communities, is there a pocket or something? But no, they're randomly distributed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Guess one I would have is do you ask about basement type and if there's any exposed soil in the basement?
We ask if there is a basement. We do ask for openings. Yeah. So one of the questions is what types of openings. So we, kind of give some examples such as some pits, crawl spaces, or, just extra cracks. So yeah, that's certainly something that we could check into. We didn't pull it out, so I don't think there was anything that was overriding. But in general, when we have done research, homes that have earth floor crawl spaces do have a higher potential to have radon levels, just because that's a fairly wide open space to the ground. Now, in new construction, any home that's built like that should have a properly sealed poly liner, but we understand that it is tricky for those to be completely sealed through the entire construction process.
Good, and I understand that the mapping is privileged information, but I just wonder if there's any way that either that could be shared with council in camera, or if there is a way that people could opt into letting that information be known. Just thinking it would be good to have some local eyes on it that might spot a terrain feature or something that might not be evident if you're not used to the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can certainly walk through it with you in camera. We just protect people's privacy, and so especially I think in the smaller region, it's easier to see a little bit of whose house is whose kind of thing.
You bet. Okay, sounds good. We'll be in touch with there. I'll put it out there one more time. Any more other questions? Awesome. Thank you very much. That was very interesting.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. We really appreciate the opportunity to present, and we really appreciate Willeen and her team. Again, it was a really well-run project. We really appreciated working with the community, so really thankful for that connection.
That's good. We will pass it on to Willeen's team of one. That was a great job.
Yeah. We always want to acknowledge sometimes, but I know it's a small community, and she did a lot, so thanks.
Awesome.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to CAO reports, starting with 6.1, zoning amendment bylaw. So it's up for third reading. So we could either give it that. I mean, I think most people know that the business that planned to be there is opened in a different location. So whether that still needs a third reading or whether it should just be voted down is kind of our options as far as I see it, right? Sure.
So I spoke to the owner. I texted with him last couple of days. He said he is opening a business under the C1, planning to open a business under the C1, which is professional, government, and services. And I asked him if he had a business license application in, and he said no, because the bylaw hadn't been adopted. I did tell him he could come tonight in case council had questions, but he's not here, so I didn't hear from him after that. So we don't have a business license application. So the options are to read it a third time, or deny third reading and close the file, or defer it if you want. But I don't know what that would do.
Councillor Bulmer.
Is there any advantage to us rezoning it now then to have that as retail rather than commercial, or is that not an issue?
The biggest difference, actually, Hillary can correct me if I'm wrong. The biggest difference is that you can have a home-based business in that building.
Okay.
It's still commercial. It's still highway commercial, but you can have a home-based business in it.
And you can't under the other one, like we've got retail commercial and highway commercial.
Right.
So C2
you can't have. Am I getting that backwards? There's a mic there, Hillary.
It would remain commercial. However, the intended business application that we received was of a specific use that wasn't permitted in C2 zoning. So in order to kind of accommodate this in the best way possible, we gave them an option to go ahead with the amendment for C1 in order to allow under our current bylaws what they were intending to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Councillor Vandola.
I would like to table this until the individual will come and actually speak to us, and unless they don't come and give us his rationale to what they want to do, I see no reason to go ahead and approve the third reading.
Okay, so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if you want to go that route, you want to defer it rather than table it. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
But he was asked to come.
And he didn't.
And he
And
didn't.
he did. I told him council could deny third reading. And you may want to come to answer questions. You could still defer it till the July meeting if you
Yeah.
like and try again if you'll come.
In my mind, if it's not important enough for him to be here tonight, then it's not important enough for me to go ahead and pass this third reading.
So if we were to choose not to, is it a negative motion or do we put a motion on the floor and defeat it?
No, you can just make a motion to deny third reading.
Okay.
Which means if he decides to do another business
Have
there,
to go through the process.
he has to go
again.
through the process
Yep.
again, and he's not allowed living there, right?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, well, we've got a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder?
I second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
So is the motion to defer it?
No, to
Deny it.
deny it.
Councillor Lozay.
Yeah, so just deferring it would bring it back to and give him an opportunity. Plain, okay, all right.
Any more questions? Councillor Young.
So if we just elect to cancel it out and not do anything with this now, that's not going to cause, if he comes back, is this, essentially what I'm getting at is, are we wasting a lot of staff time by deferring it? Is it more efficient to just deny it at this point and start again if somebody comes back to us? Like, what's the best use of staff time? Because you've already entered this. Where are we at? Does it matter?
So the staff time involved, besides doing the report and everything, sending out surrounding property owners, public notice that the hearing had been waived. So it's not a lot.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And you would have to pay for a new application. You have to talk.
I just want to add too that it came to light that there has been construction done that we haven't received a permit for either. So, and I believe that work is continuing to go on there as well.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, 6.2, public transit bylaw.
So we're recommending that mayor and council read for first and second time a public transit bylaw that we would like to have adopted just for ongoing concerns for user safety and staff safety. Essentially, we are looking to have a code of conduct for users, and we've had incidents where people have been banned from transit facilities. So the gist of it, we're looking to potentially have people banned for a 6-month period on the first incident, potentially 12 months on the second. If there's a third incident, banned indefinitely.
Any questions? Somebody want to make a motion? Councillor Young. Seconder? Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. 6.3, housing incentive policy. You want to speak to it?
This is the dollars to the door policy that everybody's adopting through NDIT. And so the policy is ready for applications, and the application is part of the policy, as you can see at the end. So it's for adoption.
Would somebody like to move adoption? Seconder? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. And we're just rocking through it tonight. 6.4, annual report and SOFI. Margaret, were you speaking to that?
I can speak to the annual SOFI if anybody
Yeah.
has any questions on that. The annual report is the
Yeah.
annual report that we have to
Yeah.
adopt before the end of June.
Any questions, anything? Somebody want to make a motion?
Two motions, one.
Okay,
Yes, please.
somebody want to move the annual report?
I'll move the annual.
Seconder? Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Somebody want to move Sophie? Seconder? Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried. 6.5, let's start with the Canada Day Parade one.
To put together a parade for Canada Day, something we haven't had for a while. I think we have in between 13 to 15 vehicles so far. We're hoping to get more by the end of the week. If you look on the back of the page, the route is there. So the parade will start on Stewart Street and stage in front of the pool in the arena. It'll run down Stewart Street, take a right-hand turn at Butte Avenue, and then another right-hand turn at Victoria Street, and then finish on Creasy Avenue. So yeah, we're just getting council's approval to have the parade. Any questions?
Any questions for Heidi?
You'll be advertising the route so people know it's
You,
on Burrard, like.
you bet. Yep.
One just comment I would have is we're closing off both Stewart and Victoria. So maybe as soon as the floats are passed,
Reopen it.
reopen it, right? So we can get an ambulance through and make sure that the ambulances know we'll be open and that as soon as
You bet.
possible.
I still have to let the ambulance and the cops know that we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move it.
Okay, any further questions? All in, oh, go ahead, Councillor Leslie.
Down Butte and not Burrard.
Just
But that-
because we don't have a lot of people in the parade,
Oh, I
and we
see,
just
okay.
felt
Yep.
that instead of closing down Burrard, we're not causing any.
Oh, I see. Okay. Good. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
No.
All in favor? Carried. And 6.6, also from Heidi.
So this is a special event permit. So we're having a reunion. It's an SD 91 reunion, and they are just requesting alcohol at their event. It's scheduled for this Saturday. The event will run from 4 p.m. till 11:30. Last call will be 10:30, and they're averaging about 330 people for that event. Any
Just to
questions?
be clear, they're only having alcohol on the Saturday, not the Friday as well?
I believe it's just the Saturday, yeah. That's all we got the permit for.
There's musicians, but. That's as far as I know.
I could check with the community event center, so if you know there's an event, then approve it for, I'll check with the event center.
Okay.
and see.
Why don't we just throw both dates in there? And then if it's
Okay.
not used, there's no harm, no foul, right?
I
Like,
agree. Okay.
yeah. Seconder? Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 7.1, council items. So we'll start with the Housing Committee Chair.
So this report was actually presented back in May, I believe. And just quickly highlighting that we had a presentation from Urban Systems. There wasn't a lot of uptake on the survey that they had put out. So I contacted some local folks and asked them to consider doing the survey and also sent Urban Systems a list of folks they might want to also get in touch with. Yeah, and also at that meeting, we presented some information from the Housing Assessment Research Tool that's administered through UBCM, and it just gives us some information about local statistics around housing. We discussed a little bit at that meeting that 7.69% of Vanderhoof folks are in core housing. And so core housing means you're in accommodation that's either too large, too small, out of not suitable, not a great place to live, or out of your, more than 30% of your income. And then we discussed properties that might be suitable for development in our community and the types of potential buildings that would go up on those properties, and I'm trying to understand a little bit further about what the priority is for Vanderhoof for housing. And I think we've established that it is rental housing. We just had it. So that's just kind of a quick overview of that report, because I have already talked about it.
Awesome. Well, your mic's on. Do you have anything else you want to add to the councillor items?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Young.
Well, we just,
We did have a housing meeting.
Yeah.
But we're not supposed to talk about it.
Till the minutes come.
yeah, you can say you had that. So.
I have.
17. Yeah, we just attended that. Had a quick meeting with a couple members of the Historical Society discussing the MOU we had talked about, and also some planning possibly going around the proposal for a strategic plan set up. They're very excited about that. So it was a very positive response to doing that. They are, again, maybe a little early, but they were going to bring it back to the rest of the group. But those who I spoke to were quite excited about that. And as you know, on July 1st, they're getting ready to host at the museum. And I understand that Councillor Vandal will be joining me this year and Councillor Bulmer, Sausage King of Vanderhoof, and we'll be the flippers. So yeah, back there. So make sure you come out. Yeah, apparently. We shall see. We shall see. CNC, I believe the mayor and I are both attending that planning meeting this Wednesday. Last week, we were just talking before the meeting. On behalf of the mayor, I did speak to some of the issues we've been seeing in the community around some of the vandalism with CKBG. And fortunately or unfortunately, it got picked up on Global, which not always, these aren't things we like to discuss publicly, but it's good that people understand that there is some follow-up, and we really want to do something about what's been going on. So it was good, I guess, for that reason. So I think that's it for me.
Right. Councillor Vandola.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to attend the BC Community Forest Association conference and AGM, which was being held in Mackenzie this year. Quite well attended. About 150 people were across the board. Not necessarily all of them were community forest managers or owners. The thing that struck me as the most interesting piece was the number of high-ranking Ministry of Forest officials that were in attendance. We had deputy minister, we had two assistant deputy ministers, two regional exec directors, directors of tenures branch, all in attendance there. So makes you wonder, at a function such as that, they're coming all the way to Mackenzie. It's not like they could fly in and fly out. They actually have to go to Prince George and drive the 2 hours to get up there. So it makes you wonder, so what was there, what was going on? But it was interesting because of, because the election coming forward, they were making it very clear that they were not able to speak about anything.
A little bit of an early interregnum,
kind of a pre-interregnum piece there, which was quite interesting. One of the speakers that I found that was quite interesting was Terry TG, regional chief, gave a presentation on kind of the state of the forest sector and First Nations interest in getting involved. One of the things that came up that he brought forward was through several court cases like Delgamook, Sparrow, Sisilkatine, he made it very clear that First Nations do not have a veto in the decision-making process. They want to be part of the decision, but they don't have the overarching decision to say no. And I thought that was pretty powerful, because a lot of other meetings I've been to where you've had First Nation leaders, that's not what they're saying. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They give out an annual award to the community forest that exhibits the most innovation and whatnot, and that was this year. It's called the Robin Hood Award. I don't know who Robin Hood was. It must have been a community forest manager owner at one point, and that was his name. Passed away, and so they've made it a legacy deal. Anyway, Chinook Community Forest in Burns Lake won the award, so that was pretty great. Also, I attended the community leaders meeting for Rio Tinto. Talked about the reservoir levels again. In the May 29th update, the reservoir was at 2,789.68 feet. And then we got a bit of an update yesterday or day before from Amon, and she said that the reservoir level is now at 2,791, so it's actually gone up a couple of feet, which is good news. Obviously, the rain that we've had over the last few days has helped with that, but just kind of this time last year, the reservoir level was at 2,796.7. So it's another 5 feet higher than it is today. So they're still very concerned about the level of the water of the reservoir, and so we'll just kind of see how that goes. Attended the trout pond through opening with through the sturgeon hatchery. Wasn't really well attended. Councillor Young and I were there. I'd say there was, and the mayor was there, and ex-mayor Jerry Thiessen was there. There's probably 20 of us. Bunch of kids caught fish, so that was good. It was kind of a drizzly day, but the freshwater fishery is super well organized. They had rods for anybody that wanted to come. They had bait for everybody that wanted to attend, and I think that's just going to be a great facility going forward. Also attended the sturgeon release. Happened to have my 2 granddaughters from Prince George, and it was one of those things. There was another school, I believe, from Prince George, and of course they wanted to go and get a little cup of the fish to release, but because they weren't a school that had registered, they weren't allowed to do that unless there was extras. And so I thought, well, that's something that you need to let your teachers know so they can organize it for next year. But super well attended. It was a beautiful day. Yeah, it was awesome. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You remember Mayor? Fish the mayor.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had our environment committee meeting on Wednesday and talked about the radon. Councillor Frankel, very adamant that he wanted to see a map as well. We all want to see a map to see if there's any correlations. We talked about our waste fiber project and potential funding for that. And we also talked about the purple air monitors and that the wood burning kind of ability for individuals that's supposed to expire at 2026 or in that neighborhood. And we also talked about the potential to have a more in-depth parks and rec plan and to include more opportunities for Riverside Park for other uses, just other than what's existing there. So, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bulmer.
So I'll ditto Councillor Van Dole. I too went to the sturgeon release. Thought it was absolutely a tremendous day. Everybody there had a good time. Was also at the Environment Committee meeting. So I did attend the monthly meeting of the Vanderhoof Chamber of Commerce. They've been increasingly raising their profile. And of course, if anyone did miss it, the street market was an absolute super success. to a degree, some of the businesses that were hoping people would come into the stores, like taking place of a trade show in the arena, didn't quite pan out, but the booths that came did very, very well. It was well attended. People loved it. And they're going to work on some changes and some things for it down the road. And down the road, this chamber now with the board we have and with the work that Shelley's been doing, they've got some great things coming up. They're going to look at a Movember event. They're looking at all kinds of other events coming forward. And I think that right now the chamber is doing exactly what we were hoping they would get up and do. And not to stroke anybody, but I think Shelley has a lot to do with that. So thank you very much, Shelley. And I also attended the Indigenous Peoples Day. Briefly, I had some medical things in the way of that, but I got down there to hear a performance and have some food, and it was well attended, and I'd like to see the amount of people out for that. That's it for me.
Awesome. I switched your mic back on. I'll get it there. Good. So attended the modular home grand opening out at Sycas. Really exciting, putting 4 new modulars out there. The families were there just about with their boxes ready to move in. So just great to see that, and great to see those young families ready to go and on a new part of their journey. As an FCM, the 5th through the 10th, kind of a lot of mixed feelings with it. There was a lot of good stuff, but a lot of it, because they were speaking at a national level, wasn't necessarily relevant province by province, because they weren't getting into the details, because each province has, even the federal programs, it's a little bit different in each province. So that was kind of everything wasn't quite as detailed as I would like it to be. And then if there was a theme, I think a lot of the theme was dealing with harassment. That they talked about, either from fellow councillors or from the public, right? And just amazing to see. No, sometimes you feel like, why does this happen here? But it happens everywhere. So knowing that is out there and something to deal with. A few of you joined me for the update from Northern Health here. That wasn't too much to deal with. I think they were more talking about some of their shortcomings. Good Neighbors Committee, I've met with a couple of times. Of course, some of the vandalism, both to the banners and out on the rock on the way to Fort St. James, were definitely brought up there. So definitely something we need to keep on and keep pushing with. Other than that, went to the Fraser Lake Community Transition Meeting. Those are kind of winding down now. There's another one slated, but not till way after UBCM, right? So getting through that. And yeah, Friday was National Indigenous Peoples Day. I was there all day. I think I still have a little sunstroke from it. It was a very nice day, a beautiful day for it. So it was well attended, I thought. It seemed like most of the school kids made it down in the elementary schools. That was great. Some great performances. Danielle Mueller was there. Just amazing, right? And some other good ones as well. So it was a great day, and look forward to how we can work on it with Sycas next year and maybe iron out a few of the kinks and make it even better. As Councillor Young said, we're meeting with CNC tomorrow in that advisory role, and our fire chief is also on that, so we're fairly well represented at that table. So that's a really good thing going forward. Okay, that is the council. Yeah. Yeah.
This making me think that reference I made to that interview, the amount of things that have happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks in our community that are really positive and some really neat events. And it made me think, so the only thing that got anywhere was something, it wasn't a good news story. And I think it goes back to what we've been talking about before, promoting good things that happen in our community. There's so many good things, and how do we capture those and keep getting it out there? Like that has to be the #1 thing that we push forward, are these positive things are happening. Because talking to folks in the community, this last month has been, every weekend's been packed. Like there's been something going on that's really positive in the community, and the chamber's had a lot to do with it, but there's other things too. So just every weekend. So I'm just saying it's nice to see our summer set up that way and continue that momentum, because there's some really different things that we do, like that sturgeon. And then I forgot, I had to speak at that one because he was gone again. I forgot, oh yeah, I was there too. But, and again, to look out and to see all these kids there after all the work that we did as a community to make sure that happened, have Nathan Cullen there.
Yeah.
Who's had a great,
First time he's ever made it.
first time he's been there. And
Everybody's ever-
it's powerful because of the words he stated and how he understood the impact that has on our environment. So I'm going, man, these are the things that we want to celebrate, right? And so anyway, I just want to touch on that, that somehow along the way, we have to get better at telling those stories. So, anyway, because we're doing a lot of great things. Let's tell people.
We definitely do. And actually, Cheryl Jan's going to interview me on a few topics later in the week, and I was really glad it isn't on that. It is on. It's on these other positive stories, right? So it's good to have that chance to let them breathe and get the light they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe working and to promote the heck out of every weekend event that's coming up, because watching all those little guys catching the fish, fighting with their siblings, who'd get to grab it first, and you know, there's gonna be a lot of memories made there.
It's going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah. So.
I did have a question on the trout pond. So they just brought the fishing rods and the bait just for that day, right?
No.
No, they're there? Oh, okay. So I could do, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
If you're taking your class, I would call first.
Well, we're supposed to do an urban camp on Wednesday if we don't get rained out, and I was planning on showing them the trout pond. So.
Yeah.
Urban hike, yeah, okay. Because
Okay, I'm going to move us on. Okay, 8.1, council priorities. We have that listed there just to remind us of the direction we want to head in and how we plan to get there. 8.2, we have the accounts payable listing. Any questions coming out of that? And then 8.3, we have the crime stats. Almost gave
Just one interesting thing, the number of assaults.
Yeah. I did almost call Sergeant Day to see if they had a lot of people on vacation, because a lot of the numbers are looking very favorable, right? So. Okay. So correspondence there's a link to, and I will declare us adjourned.